Meruem, yet another character that I did not understand when I first watched the series. But then upon a rewatch, I realized, this character has layers. I actually don't even think I'm smart enough to do a proper breakdown on the character, but I'm gonna try my best to break down the layers of Meruem. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and leave a comment. To really understand Meruem as a character, we need to look at before his birth, when the ants first came into the series. When the Chimera ants came to the series, the show wasted no time showing how formidable as a foe they were. They had no difficulty in taking over a country and killing hunters, which at that time, it's a big deal. Furthermore, with the birth of the King's Guard, so Pito, UP, Poof, and what they did to Kai. The series wasted no time in showing that these guys were really the shit. So for the king, who is meant to be the strongest, and at that time he wasn't born, all they were doing was getting food for the queen so she could give birth to the king. It established that this king, when he is finally born, is gonna be a killer. And a killer he was. His first victim was his mom. He literally had a body before he said a word, when he ripped through her after he was born. At that point, inside Meruem, there was nothing there. It was just black. Didn't really care about anything, and he only had one goal: to further his species. He didn't care what got in his way. But I really want to focus on his growth. At the beginning, he did not understand anything about humanity. Humans were just food to him, nothing more than weak creatures beneath his notice. Kind of like when you're walking, you would never really notice an ant. That's basically how Meruem saw humans. He can't comprehend the value humans place on emotions, individuality, or relationships. To him, being the strongest is the only thing that matters. And since nobody could match his strength, since he was the strongest and he could learn every single thing in the world in like an hour for some reason, he was convinced that everybody was below him. But what is interesting is Meruem starts to change when he starts to notice things that he didn't understand in his King's Guard. For example, sacrifice, loyalty, and fear, and the introduction of a very important character which flips the course of Meruem's character, and that character is Komugi. I believe Meruem's change was already foreshadowed because it was established that the ants take the traits of the beings that they consume, and the king is heavily based on humans because that was the peak of the diet that the queen had when she was trying to give birth to the king. So this was excellent foreshadowing. Komugi is the key to Meruem's transformation. When he first met her, she is just a fragile blind girl who was good at Gungi, a game that he had never played before. At first, he just wanted to beat her because Meruem never lost and he couldn't handle loss. Weak man in my opinion, but okay. But over time, Komugi becomes more important to him because he starts to see her as more than an opponent. She's someone that shows there can be strength in other places in humanity rather than just physical power. What is so interesting about their relationship is the nature of it is built on respect. Meruem, who looks down on all humans, finds himself admiring and even caring for a girl who doesn't fear him, who doesn't care about his title, who doesn't care about his power. She just loves the game and she just wants to play a game with him, and she sees him as an equal competitor. In fact, she was the first person to ask who his name was, and that's when Meruem realized that he didn't even know what his name was. And your name is your identity rather than just being a title. It gives you an identity. It's gonna come back and be important later on during the fight with Netero. Anyway, as they keep on playing the game with Komugi, as he keeps trying to beat her, she starts to bring out the humanity from him. The human side of Meruem starts to come up, and that leads to different reactions, very interesting reactions from his King's Guard, especially Pito and Poof. Long story short, the King's Guard believed his relationship with Komugi was making him weak, as it was bringing out his humanity. But they were wrong. Either way, that fear came out in different ways, where Poof wanted to kill Komugi because he felt it was making the king weak. Pito, on the other hand, developed an intense obsession to protect Komugi because she could see how much she meant to the king. But what both of them failed to realize is that the time he spends with Komugi was something that made him stronger, made him a better king. It made him understand and question his existence and the true meaning of power. But at the climax, when he finally faces Netero, that's when he fully realizes what it means to be human. He develops a newfound respect for humans through his battle with Netero. At first, in the battle, he was confident that he would win. He only wanted to know his name. But as the fight goes on, something shifts. Meruem starts to respect Netero, not because of his strength, but because of his unwavering resolve. Netero's willingness to sacrifice himself and everything to protect humanity opens Meruem's eyes to the idea that there is more to strength than just winning fights. In the end, Netero uses a literal nuke, which, let's be honest, would have killed him then and there if not because of his King's Guard. But the damage had already been done. Meruem had already been poisoned. So knowing he was going to die, this is where we see the best bit of Meruem. We see his growth in full realization of who he is. This king who was born in a world of destruction, in his final moment, he decides to spend it doing what he loves the most with who he loves the most, in a space where he can be his true self. With Komugi playing Gongi until they both succumb to the poison and they die holding each other's hands. All I can say is beautiful, because the first time I watched it, I was blind. I didn't see this. But the next time I watched it, bawling my eyes out, it was too sad. But that's Meruem. He started off as a monster, really not even really a monster, but someone that was oblivious to being human and grew to become a human through his relationship with Komugi, his King's Guard, and his fight with Netero. And I believe at the end of the day, Meruem died in peace with the person that he loves. That brings me to the conclusion of this character analysis. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below who you want us to talk about next. And comment down your thoughts on Meruem and what you think about his story. Thumbs out.